Ahoy hoy! Welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. I am your host this week, Shane, and as always, I'm joined by Phil
Hola.
and Scott.
Shemai, everyone. How you doing?
Everyone all right?
Good, mate. Thank you.
This week is my pick. We're beginning our Batman wave, are we not?
Ooh. To celebrate the upcoming movie, yeah.
Batman. I believe it's out next Thursday
March
over here.
4th. Yes.
March.
It's next Thursday over here. So yes, I'll be going to see that on Friday. Looking forward to
Nice.
that. But we're kicking off Batman wave with my pick, which is Mad Love, Batman Adventures Mad Love from 1993. Written by... I've pressed that twice.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Written by Paul Dini, art by Bruce Timm, colours by Bruce Timm and Rick Taylor.
Bruce
What am I-
W. Timm.
Sorry.
Bruce. Yeah.
How rude of me. Bruce W.
How dare
Timm.
you?
How dare I? Yes. So we're reading Mad Love, and hopefully, if you're listening to this or watching along with us, you have read it as well. Before we get into it, I should probably give a synopsis. Before we meet the herd and before we talk about it, just give a quick synopsis of the book. This is the animated series of Batman, origin of Harley Quinn. We find out how she joined the Joker, how she fell for the Joker. She's a psychiatrist, not a very good one. Apparently, she has to cheat to get her grades up in school. Goes to work at Arkham, falls in love with the Joker. It's that old tale of, the girl that likes the bad boy, falls for him, turns bad herself. And we find out what brought her to this point as the Harley Quinn we know and love today. We also get to see her plan to take on Batman when she catches him. But the Joker's none too happy that the Harley Quinn has come this close to beating Batman when he couldn't all along. And yeah, he takes it out on her. It's not so much a love story as it is a tragic tale of unrequited love, I would say. It's a lot deeper than you'd think for an animated comic book of this style. But yes, that's the synopsis. It's not a very long book. It's what did we say, Scott? 64 pages.
Yeah.
60. You can get a deluxe version. Yeah. But yes. So before we get started, let's just meet who's in with us today. We've got Adam from Comic Bound. Says, evening all, slightly early today, just enough time to play the Batman animated series. Intro while I wait. Seems like the appropriate time to do it. Oh, I've had that in my head all day. It's just such a good intro. Do you guys watch the animated series?
Of course.
No.
Of course.
Scott? Oh, we're gonna have to get Scott to watch it. It's amazing.
He's too far gone.
Cable's lost son is in. Hi all. Hi, thanks for joining. Blue Sonic's here. Evening. JWD Comics. Evening, folks. The Funky Gibbons is in. Heidi ho. As always. We have Kevin Wells. Thanks for joining. Evening all. Jack Talks Comics. Hi everyone. Captain Comics is in. Haven't seen you for a while. Hope you're well.
Ahoy.
Mates and mermaids. We also have Glenn. Hi Shane, Scott and Phil. Well, hello back to you, Glenn.
Hello,
Thanks
Glenn.
for joining. We have, I'm going to get it right this time. See, I can read it. Branded One Arch.
Nice.
No, it's Branded One. Yeah, Branded One Arch.
Yeah.
See, I said I was going to get it right, and then I questioned myself.
See how capital letters help.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, never. Yeah, Peter
Thornton.
My bad. I apologize for getting your name wrong. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining.
That's what happens when you watch it on a Mac. You have to
Yeah,
squint. And...
my screen is really small. That's why constantly you'll see me I'm leaning in like that just to read the comments. Sorry. So yes, Phil, would you like to start us off? What did you think of Mad Love? Before that, is this your first time reading it?
First time reading it, yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, I've watched the animated series and I love the animated series, but I honestly couldn't remember this as part of the animated series. So I had to rewatch it today after I read the book. First of all, Harley Quinn basically had Batman beat. And this is the moral of the story. She had him beat. there was no way out. He mentioned it himself. It wasn't until the fact that he had to play on Harley Quinn's like emotions and love for the Joker and all that kind of stuff. That's what got him out of it. If it wasn't for that, Batman was beat. So maybe that is the mad love, you know. The story was really short. Essentially, was just an episode of the animated series. Like it literally is an episode. Like it's a carbon copy from this book to the animated series. And I loved it. I mean, Harley Quinn isn't a character that before I met Shane I would have bothered with, to be brutally honest. And obviously, you know, meeting Shane, and we know he loves Harley Quinn, so it's kind of.
Does he?
I think so. Just a smidge.
Just a smidge.
Yeah. So yeah, I loved it, and to be fair, this story was really sad as well. Like in terms of like, if you really think about it, this is written in 1993, wasn't it? So I'm not. By no means is any kind of domestic violence, you know, okay at any stage at the time. But certainly 2022, you're not going to see books like this.
No.
Like Joker was smacking her around, like even the amount of emotional abuse that she was suffering at the hands of the Joker. Like it was pretty grim when you actually think about it, and you kind of wonder why did it or how did it fly back then? Like how did it not?
Does that make because of how unpolitically correct it is now? Mm-hmm. Do you think that kind of domestic violence would have more impact on people reading it now than what they would have when it came out originally?
I would say for new readers, you know, younger readers especially, reading this now for the first time, I'd be thinking, "Flippy, did he just smack her? Like, you know, did he just?" Yeah, I think it'd be more of an impact. Where it's one of those things. If it was like an average henchman who had Batman tied up, then the Joker would have done the same thing, and no one would bat an eyelid. But that's not what the story's about. It's, you know, the love that's kind of forcing Harley Quinn to stay with the Joker, even though he is a bit of an asshole, and that's what makes it a bit rough.
Yeah,
in 2023.
It's something a lot of people like they gloss over this because you see it all the time. You see these posts about people, oh, she's the Harley to my Joker, or he's the Joker to my Harley. They get it wrong. They think it's actually like this whirlwind love story, and it's completely one-sided. You know, the Joker could not care less. She is a means to an end for him, and it's blatantly obvious in this book, just how little he cares for her.
Batman referred to her as hired help. Essentially, he had paid you pin for hired help the minute he stepped in the door at Arkham, and it's true. But she's in love with him, you know.
Yeah, it's such an impactful book when you see what she goes through. Obviously, I've read on. This character gets a very similar origin for her introduction into the DCU. It's very, very close to this. But then when you see the character grow from this, you know, beaten woman essentially to an independent character, it's so much more fulfilling when she gets her own title, when she grows away from the Joker and becomes her own character. It means so much more. Her character just grows so much in her own series that you feel for everything she's gone through, and she knows what she's gone through, and she knows it was all wrong, and she stops going back to him after a while. But in this animated series, she's trapped. She never ever leaves the Joker in the animated series, and it's so sad, you know, that this version of Harley is always going to be trapped in this situation.
And see, that's the thing. Like, it being a product of its time and stuff. Like, obviously, as the years went on, they've realized they need to kind of release Harley from this trap. Essentially, where in 1993 they probably didn't have that plan to do that. They were happy just to have her as his love interest, you know.
She was originally introduced as just a female henchman. She was meant to have no growth, no character. She was just a background character, but fans fell for her so quickly that they had to do something. They had to grow her and give her an origin and give her a character. And look at her today.
Did you like her from the off? Like from the get-go? Were you a Harley Quinn fan?
From watching the show, when she first popped up, I think the voice actress did it for me. Arlene Sorkin. She has that strong New York ditzy accent that was just fantastic. And she was so playful, and it was so much fun to watch her and the Joker interact. And then so when I started to read the Batman Adventures comics, there are a good few Harley stories in there that are really fun. And then you get to this and it just breaks your heart, because this is the dark one. This is not for kids, this book, I wouldn't say.
Definitely not.
If the kids are reading the Batman Adventures series, no.
That's the thing. Even with vroom vroom. Although I was going to say this, I watched the actual episode today on the animated series off this Mad Love, and you can tell there's certain things they've cut out. Like you didn't see Joker lay a hand on Harley. You knew he hit her, but you didn't see it. You did see I'm pretty certain now that she did do the, do you want to take your Harley for a drive? Vroom vroom. I'm pretty certain she did that in the show. But you can tell there's certain things were definitely kind of left out. For the purpose of the TV show. And also, I didn't realize because no way the animated show, it kind of, the art changes kind of midway, like the characters' designs change, like the Joker changed. I didn't realize that this one was like the secondary art whenever the Batman was different. And
the New Adventures of Batman was that?
Yeah, the New Adventures, because it was season 4. So, I mean, I love that animated series, and what you see in this book, that kind of character design and the way it's drawn, that's what I picture as the animated series. I don't think of the other kind of designs further down the line.
Joker has black eyes in the second.
The Joker,
iteration.
he's like an emo Joker essentially, like, isn't he? That's what he is.
And we've got Scott here, who has no idea what we're talking about, and it's your own fault, because like even Liam is telling you, Scott, you need to watch the animated series. Adam says, Scott, if you watch the animated series intro, you'll definitely want to watch the actual show after that. So if you had watched it. Sorry, one more thing. Hi, Andy. Thanks for joining. If you had watched the series, you could join in the chat.
But I'm also glad that I haven't watched the series, because I think I've got the most undiluted opinion of this book.
Yes.
In terms of, I have no nostalgia for this. I have no. This reminds me of this. The only thing it does remind me of is the Harleen story that we read last season.
Yes, that was an origin as well, wasn't it?
Because I was reading this, and the first half or quarter of the story or whatever, I was like, this is just the same. This is literally just the same. Like she has sex to get her grade. And then she works at Arkham, falls in love with Joker by kind of wiggling her way into getting to chatting with him. And then he takes advantage. He lies about, he gets a sob story. He tugs on her heartstrings and then gets what he wants. And then after that point, it's different. But then it becomes more, cartoony, doesn't it? In the term of, trying to hang Batman above a pool of piranhas to eat his head off or whatever. And so... Yeah, so I'm really worried that because I haven't watched the TV show, because I have no sort of emotional attachment to this, that you guys and the people in the chat might not like what I'm thinking, or I'm not holding this and as high as regard as a lot of other people will. I think when we announced we were going to read this book, I can't remember who it was. Someone in the chat was like 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and I'm not saying I've been caught by that kind of hype thing, but my question was why?
Oh, really?
It's not that I didn't like it. I understand, the whole issues she has with trying to get Joker to love her back, pretty much. That was heartbreaking. But I think the fact that, I have no attachment to the show, and it has so many similarities to what we read in Harleen.
No, that has similarities to this. This is from 1993.
Exactly. And I was talking to Amy about this today as well. I was like, if I read this book first and then Harleen, I would give this probably a higher score than what I'm going to give it today, and then but I'd keep the same score for Harleen, because I genuinely do think it's better. But then, because I've read Harleen first, and that was my first introduction to the whole, origin of Harleen, and now I'm reading this, I'm now like, oh well, I know all that. I've read all this. Like, it's just so yeah.
I think it's fair to say that Harleen is probably better, in all fairness. Like, in terms of the story, the length of the story, the kind of it gripped you a lot more. This is very 64 pages, very quick, very kind of not. I don't mean forgettable, but it is a cartoon episode essentially. That's
But
what this
Harleen
is.
wouldn't exist without this book.
Oh, of course.
So
like,
you
I
could-
totally understand the weight this book has on Harley Quinn's entire history and the longevity of her series and whatever. It's been fantastic for the character. But I kind of do wish I read it first before I read Harleen.
That's fair. Can we just say hello to Comics vs. the World, who says, I just tuned in to see that guy with the really great beard, but since he's not on, I'm not going to bother sticking around. At least he's got an excuse this time.
Yeah.
So, we'll talk some more about the writing after we've done our pictures. But before we get to the art, I just want to share some comments from the chat. John says, really love the book, first time reading, and loved the links to the animated series. Paul Dini is a great writer, and Bruce Timm is such a great artist. His style always takes me back to the 90s show. Yeah, I mean, it's from the page to the screen. There's no difference in the art style from this to the animated show. It's fantastic. Liam says, first time reading again for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Really like the contrast of the cartoony, fun visuals to the deep and sad story.
And that's one thing I did really like about this was the fact that it did look like a fun, cartoony kind of book, and you might not assume that it is serious. You know, if you look at the cover, you know, it was very cartoony, it's mad love. You're just thinking, oh, it's just going to be a cool bit of fun, but it is actually pretty heartbreaking. You know, it has the domestic violence. It has, you know, and it's I'm assuming that this, you know, has been one of the first times that someone has actually gotten close to killing Batman, and it was Harley Quinn and not Joker. And that I can imagine that was quite a pivotal moment in the kind of, you know, Batman Joker history.
Yeah, it was. We will get to that a little bit more, but first Harley Quinn comic and loved it. Reminded me of the Arkham Asylum PS4 game. Says Cable's Lost Son. A lot of people are reading this for the first time, which is really nice. The art in the original series was the best. I love the art in the comic. Bruce Timm is a genius. I think everyone agrees. Bruce Timm just smashes it.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Smashed it. So, talking of the art, what did you guys think?
I want to know what Scott thinks of like the character designs then, because also we have watched the show. We're very familiar with what it is. So you haven't watched the show. Like, what do you think of the character designs?
I haven't watched the show, but I recognize that these are all from the show. Like, I've seen pictures and I've seen clips and everything in the past.
Merchandise and stuff as well.
Yeah, it's great. Honestly, this is fantastically drawn, and if you know, this would have drawn in people who are fans of the show. This would have then, if people hadn't watched the show but then read this, they would have gone to the show because it's the same style. I mean, it's very well done and it's really enjoyable. And apart from the character designs, one thing that kept popping out at me was like the sound effects when they were drawn and written on the page. They really popped out to me. Very vibrant, the colours on them. Very noticeable throughout, and I just really that was one of the standout things for me. But character designs were great. In terms of art, I really can't complain.
I can a little bit.
Right. Was the 90 not see-through enough for you?
that was a good 90, yeah. But the I do have a problem with the art, and it's very nitpicky because I do love the animated series, but in like the kind of what would you call it? Like, not live action, what's it called? Like the motion or the movement on the TV show, you don't see the kind of glum faces as much. if you know what I mean, where there were some faces here just weren't consistent because it was obviously like a freeze frame. So I thought that was different. Like sometimes the Joker looked different in this book than I remember from the animated series. It's the odd little kind of thing, and then Harley as well. There's a few clips of her or panels of her where her face didn't look quite the same. It's just maybe because there's a lot of movement in the book in a way. There's a lot of kind of action in the book that maybe some still frames don't lend itself to that kind of nostalgia that Scott's referring to. Like, I know what she looks like, but she doesn't look right here. And that's nitpicky.
So does that hinder the art for you then? Because you've watched the show, does that get in the way of the art?
I get what you're saying because I know what they expect, and it didn't fulfill every time, but it didn't ruin the art for me. It just made it more noticeable.
Yeah,
like I recognize
you had
it
something to compare it to. Yeah,
I think we might be able to see what you're talking about in your page picks because of the action scene that you've chosen.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, possibly.
Sure. So, who should we start with? Who wants to go first?
Oh, bye, Shane. He's just gone. He's literally closed down StreamYard. So okay, we'll just he's come back. Phil, should we? You've got a few pages. Should we go for you?
Yeah, stick mine on. Yeah, I got 3. So this is like the action scene. This is whenever Joker escapes for a week and Harley Quinn's really worried about him, and whenever he is brought back into Arkham by Batman, all battered and bruised and bandaged up, she then goes and gets her costume. She gets her gear, whatever she needs to get. And if you see in the first couple of panels and so on there, like she's going into the costume shop, and it looks all nice and fine. When she's leaving the costume shop, like the shopkeeper's thrown through the window, and it's a 9 panel page, and there's a couple of them, but every panel had something to add to the story, and it just kind of like the scene, and it just added to me that this is like a real kind of fast paced, funny kind of story, and even hitting the security guard over the head of a rubber chicken, and the wee stink bomb at the bottom, and it's just the way it happened and the kind of sequential way it did, I thought was really cool. And say there's a second page off this as well. Which is this is the big reveal. So she's also put the bomb or the explosion on the glass door, and you mentioned the sound effects. There's the sound effects there, and then obviously she's this is the big reveal for her wearing her Joker or Harley Quinn costume. And then again with the next page, it's like so her and the Joker are free. They're then kind of traveling along away from the cops. And I just thought it was just really cool that those 3 pages together kind of done that. I'm just going to show this here. Like, showed that kind of action sequence throughout. And again, there's all the sound effects here too, which are pretty cool.
Yeah. Those 3 pages were so good. They're able to fit so much action in those 3 pages. It's basically like a comic book version of a montage in my eyes.
It's just the way I was seeing it, but as Shane had mentioned, or I had mentioned and Shane referred to, some of the faces don't look the same as they did in the TV show. Just at some points, but
do you think maybe because they're drawing them smaller?
Possibly. They're I don't know how they draw. I don't know if they draw in that small panel or not, or if they have a bigger page. But yes, but just because they are look smaller, you don't see them as well. But definitely, that's something that just stood out for me because I noticed it more. But I just still thought these 3 pages together were fantastic.
Yeah. What I remember thinking when I was reading this was how impressed I was at the fact that she was able to get through all of these guards just by using things from a costume shop.
Marbles and stink bombs
and like snakes in a can.
Yeah,
stink bomb, and it
kind of reminded me of the fight scene from from Birds of Prey when she goes into the police station and she's got like the glitter gun and everything.
That's right. Yeah,
I love that reveal of her standing there though in her jester costume for the first time.
It's great.
Look at that. Just such a great image.
Yeah, it's really cool. Knock knock pudding.
Yeah.
I can't do a Harley Quinn accent, obviously.
What? That was great.
Yeah.
But yeah. Scott, you want to go for your page?
Okay, yeah.
Where is your page?
Oh, it's here.
Oh, there it is.
So, this was
I was going to pick
towards
this.
the end of the fight between Joker and Batman on the train at the end of the story, and I just absolutely loved it for the cheeky grin of Batman just going pudding, and then and that's it. And I just thought it was absolutely brilliant, and just Joker's face afterwards, just so stunned at the fact that he's just been called pudding by Batman, and throughout the book he's like, "Don't call me pudding, don't call me pudding," and then his arch enemy calls him pudding, and he just goes into like this berserking rage afterwards. And yeah, it was just funny, and I just love the way the faces were done there. Yeah, it's just brilliant. And the top panel as well, to kind of give that kind of far away wide shot of the fight. Yeah, it's really good.
See, this is one of the things what I was kind of touching on as well. It's the difference between it and the actual TV show, because that top panel you see there, if this was the cartoon, that would be very grainy looking, and obviously you've never seen it, so you wouldn't know, but and she would probably realize this too, like all the scenery, the background, the cities were all very grainy on purpose, so the characters stood out more.
Do you know why? It was all drawn on black paper.
Yeah, no, I know that's that's like a full process that going into that cartoon, but like this is just a lot more vibrant than what we're used to in the animated series. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just different. I just notice it differently. But touching on the Joker's facial expressions, he was great through the whole book. Like he would just flip. He could be nice. He could be in deep thought. He could be snapping, and that bottom panel as well is pretty cool. It's all really cool.
Yeah, it's a great scene because he's mocking him the entire time, telling him that Harley got the closest, and it's just this is Blue Sonic's favorite page as well, Scott.
Nice.
It's my favorite page too. I loved how Batman set the Joker off with one word.
Yeah,
it is. My page, I went for, obviously, Harley comes in her lingerie.
I was also going to pick this at that top panel, and like the scene where the camera was like through her legs to the Joker. I thought it was hilarious.
I just love that she's being all flirty, and trying to get some attention, and he's just thinking about Batman. He wants a plan to beat Batman. But it's that line, "Don't you want to rev up your Harley? Vroom vroom." I mean, it's a brilliant line.
Yeah.
And I think they did change it for the cartoon. I don't think she says that in the cartoon. I do think they changed it, unfortunately. But I just love Joker's disinterested face at the bottom as well. It's like he's got this incredibly hot girlfriend coming in, and he's like, "No, I'm coming up with a plan." But if you look at the bottom in the middle panel, I don't know what sexual act they have planned, but she says, "I've got the whoopee cushion." It's just such a fun page.
I could be wrong, but I mean, I just watched this today, but I'm like 90% certain that Vroom Vroom is in the cartoon.
Oh, I might have to double check.
If anyone in the chat knows, let us know.
Yeah, I'll go on YouTube later and find it. That was Peter Thornton's favourite page as well. Nice. So everyone loves the little Harley in her lingerie. You actually get the Harley figure in her lingerie in the box set. You get Joker, Harley in her lingerie, and you get a copy of Mad Love in there as well.
Nice. Yeah. I picked it up myself, and I think Perpetual Comics referred to it. I also grabbed that bargain, but I've opened mine. I read the book, and the figures are in display. I just ripped the box right open. Sorry.
I stupidly paid full price for mine before B&M had it for like 15 quid. We do have some viewer pages. Shall we go through those?
Let's go ahead,
Let's say
quick
John
fire
from
round.
JWD Comics has sent this one. I mean, look at that. If that's not a comic page, I don't know what is.
So good.
With the bam. It's brilliant. It's such a, there are quite a few splash pages in this, I think. You've got the Harley coming out in her Jester costume for the first time. Then you have a couple others as well. So they did really well. Surprising, considering they only had 64 pages to work with, to have actual splash pages. But you have to put that in. Look at Batman's muscles rippling as Joker's just going.
John's reasoning for liking this was it reminded him of his childhood with the animated series, plus the BAM is kind of 60s Batman-esque.
Yes. Oh, yes. I didn't even think about that. Yes, Adam West Batman with the BAM, pow, whack all the time. Oh, I suppose you haven't watched that either, have you, Scott?
No. Oh, yeah. I watched the Adam West Batman film.
Okay. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. We have Cable's Last Sons page, which is, yes, this was another one I wanted to pick as well. It's Harley's fantasy of her perfect life with the Joker, 2 kids, Batman's head on a wall. And anyone notice the 2 bunnies in the top right corner?
Yeah, but I didn't know what they were referring to. Can you?
That is Babs and Buster Bunny from the Tiny Toon Adventures.
Oh, because see, okay.
Bonnie's reasoning. Oh, sorry, Bonnie. That's his Instagram name. Cable's Lost Son. Reason for liking this was he loved the family dynamic of the Joker and Harley, like the he's poisoning me and then poisoning back. Harley cooking in the kitchen whilst the Joker was watching the kids. It's just a fun look in the book, and he loved the art.
There's just a lot of chaos going on. Like even like there's a Barbie doll with her head off. There's 2 I call them bangers, little kind of cracker bangers as they're called, and the knife and the Batmobile on fire and the dinosaur cut in half. There's just a lot of chaos, and it's brilliant.
And it's still her perfect idea. It's her perfect fantasy. Liam's page. Liam has also picked a page.
Nice.
Everyone's loving this Joker Batman fight, aren't they?
Yeah.
The Joker
really
holds
good.
his own, though, I have to admit.
He does. Liam says this was a really fun page with the colours and sound effects going on. It's a classic Batman Joker fight, and couldn't help but hear the 60s series effects when reading that page. So another 60s sound effects, like the wow, woo. It was good.
The thing about go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love the Joker's face in the middle panel at the bottom.
I was going to refer to the faces here because they all look like you would expect from the animated series. Where was your page, Shane? The faces look very different. That was one of the things I was referring to. Where in this page alone, you do see this is what it looks like on the TV.
It's such a. I mean, you could pretty much just pick any page from this book to enjoy the art. Yeah. Brandon One Arc picks up the Harley.
Yeah. So yeah, this was a great pick. And he said that he loves the art in this, and when he was reading this, he could hear Mark Hamill's voice in his head when he saw this page.
Yeah, I think everyone does. I think when you're reading any Joker book, you hear Mark Hamill's voice really now, don't you?
This is we do. This is what I'm going to say to Scott, because it's one thing whenever I'm reading Batman or Joker or whatever, I am listening to Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy. That's who I'm listening to in my head when I'm reading the book.
For me, I agree, but it's because of the Arkham Asylum games.
The game. That's right. They were in the games.
Yeah. So those are the voices I do hear when reading this. It's weird to say that you hear voices reading this, but yes, I did. Because, like I've said before, I don't really put voices to characters when I read books. But this, the style that they were in, I know the show they're from, I know the voice actors, I've heard them in the game, so those are the voices that they had for me.
Me and Shane did say as well today in the chat that Mark Hamill is the best Joker.
I agree.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Or what's
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Mark Hamill.
Yeah. So I think everyone agrees, even in the chat, that the art is pretty good. Art is it's a good selling point for this book.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the writing? What do we think?
I think we've touched on
Scott,
it a little bit already. Okay, we'll start with me. I think we've touched on it a little bit already, and it's just the fact that this book looks and is really fun to read, but it really does have this kind of, I wouldn't say dark, but it's that kind of vibe with how Harley is feeling and why she's doing what she's doing, and it's all for love, and she's not getting anything back, and she's just so desperate, and it's everyone has been in that kind of situation where they've met that one person that clearly isn't right for them, but you are willing to do anything and everything for that one person to notice you. And I think it's the fact that the fact that person doesn't give a crap about what you're doing makes you want to do it even more, makes you pine even more and want to do even more worse things or better things to get the attention of that person. And I think that's why it's relatable for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It also it flows really well as a story. If you notice, it has this, like, the writing is done so well that it flows from one scene to another naturally. It doesn't just feel like a bunch of scenes put together. That was one of my issues last week with Snot Girl. I feel like it felt like a lot of individual scenes to make up a whole story. This feels like one fluid story. It just flowed really well for me. I mean, I've read it multiple times, and I haven't had I've had this feeling ever since I read it for the first time. What did you think, Scott? Because this is your first time reading any Batman Adventures style book.
There are more there.
There are multiple series of this.
Great. It's cool. I mean, I'm happy to look at more of them. Wait, what was the question?
Did you feel the story to flowed, or did you feel like it was?
Yes, I did. Like, even though I was okay with Snot Girl last week, I can understand that it can be a bit jarring when it just jumps to a time period and we don't even know how far it jumped. But yeah, this did flow really well, and I think it helps at the fact that it was just one big issue. But yeah, it was good. Obviously, we did have time jumps, but it felt, you knew it was going to happen. Like the point where Harley was like, sent that VHS to Batman and was like, meet me here. Then there was a big time gap, but you understand why, because you just want to get to that bit. So
a VHS, for those who don't know, is like an old school tape that you would put in a video player to watch movies, and you'd rent them from like Blockbuster and stuff like that. So.
For anyone who doesn't know, Blockbuster is.
See, that's one thing
Netflix.
That's one thing I love about reading old comics. Like, this had a few things like this where, like, and even like watching the animated series, like they had like tape recorders and VHS players, like old school kind of gadgetry that like young people today are like, what is this? What's like, how old is this going to be?
I know.
But I think you're right with the flow of this story. Now, it helped because it is essentially a Harley Quinn story. Like, it wasn't centered around Batman and Joker conflict as such. It was Harley Quinn instigating the capture of Batman. And I love the way, in terms of the writing style, that you still had that level of humor between Batman and the Joker, as well as Harley and Batman. But there didn't seem to be any humor whatsoever between Joker and Harley, apart from the odd, like, she was trying her best.
Yeah.
To, like, lighten up and stuff like that. There, like, she was trying her best, but like he had none of it because he's just too distracted. So it was a story completely seen from her perspective, which I thought was great. Like a lot of people my kind of age, the Batman the animated series was their gateway into Batman and into comics. It was for me anyway, certainly. So there is a nostalgia to this. So I can't really say too many bad things about it. But there are a few bad things, I suppose. Really, the fact it's a 64-page book, and you'd mentioned there's quite a few splash pages, and the 3 pages I picked were all like there was no speech throughout. I just felt like there were a lot of times where, like, I'm not really reading anything. I'm just kind of looking and flicking the page. I don't know if that's a bad thing, or I don't know how to interpret it.
To try and put yourself in that situation, would if you were doing that in real life, would you be talking?
Oh no, but I just like for me, the reader, I just feel like
Well, that's why they had the fun little bits of detail in each panel. Like
maybe it was to make it feel like an episode as well. Make you feel like you're watching the episode, because that would be the motion scene. Like that would happen on the screen, and there would be no talking, so it would just move across. So maybe it was just his attempt to make you feel like you're watching the show as well. Or maybe he just didn't have anything to say for those 3 pages.
It also makes me wonder why they've made this book. In terms of, like, they were right bang in the middle of the animated series. Like, why have this separate? What was the kind of plan?
There was the comic book series was going at the same time as the TV show.
Oh, okay.
So you had the first volume is like 36 issues. So you had that going, and then obviously people wanted more Harley, because Batman Adventures issue 12 just disappeared off the shelves. It was Harley's first comic appearance.
You have most of them.
I only have 3. But so they did a lot of tie-ins for the TV show. So there's actually a tie-in if you've watched all the seasons. It jumps and he has Tim Drake as a Robin and Dick Grayson is now Nightwing. So you can read how Dick Grayson became Nightwing in the comics. So there's a 4-part story in the comics of how he becomes Nightwing, how he picks his name and his costume. It's all in the comic. So they did tie-ins, which was really nice. So if you were watching the show, you could also read the comic and it would fill in some blanks for you.
I feel like I need to go back and read some of this stuff now, Shane.
Yeah. Oh, read it all. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Can't complain. Let's catch up with some comments. We have... John says, to be frank, a lot of the voice actors from the animated series, not just Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, continued voicing the characters in multiple other projects. Everyone's talking about voices in their heads while reading, because you have Blue Sonic here as well. Couldn't get the voices out of my head all the way through. And Liam agrees, obviously, with Phil and I. And Scott. I think Scott agrees. 100% the best Joker is Mark Hamill. Just making sure. Cable's Lost Son would read on. He wants to read more of them. You can get the trades for Batman Adventures volumes 1, 2. I think there's 4 for the original series, and then you have the new adventures, Batman and Robin Adventures, Gotham Adventures. So there's a lot to read, and it's all fantastic. It's all set in this universe. So you get the Joker and Harley and Batman all in this animated style. If you have the chance, definitely check it out. But yes, so what? I think we've covered everything, have we? Oh, actually, no. I just wanted to... What were your thoughts on the initial scene of Dr. Joker trying to drill a hole in Commissioner Gordon's head at the dentist?
It's a bit over the top, isn't it? But, I mean, I feel like it's classic.
What a fun way to start the book.
Yeah, it was really fun. But it's so... you're reading it and you're going, you know who that is. You know it's coming. But nevertheless, I think it's fun because of that, because you know it's coming. But yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, it was cool, and even the idea that when Harley was telling her story, like how she fell in love with an inmate, that the Joker was the psychiatrist on the chair, she was on the sofa, and he put, like, again with the TV show, and I watched it today, he puts on a different voice. So I was reading it. The doctors had a different voice as well, The doctor and the dentist and the doctor on the chair had 2 different voices. And I thought it was really cool. I also want to refer to, I had this note written down that, like, Harley Quinn, I mean, she gets thrown out of a building. Like, he literally drops her from a building. She survives. But she's all beat up and bruised. And just that one little note at the end. And she's like, my angel, my baby, whatever. Yeah. And like that's the kind of thing you're dealing with. Like, she loves him that much that she's been thrown out of a building, left for dead, but still loves him, even though she's like fine to give him up and move on. And that's the mad love right there. I think I want to highlight that as well.
Yeah, it's crazy because that's how it started. He left a rose in her office, didn't he, to get her there? And then the rose at the end, and with that final line. Yeah. This won an Eisner in 1994 for a single issue.
That's really good.
Yes.
That's very good. I think
it was very, very well received.
How long was Harley around? Like, sorry, when did she first appear? When was her first appearance? And then how long was it until this story?
92 she appeared. She first appeared in September 92. This is December 93, so it's the very end of 1993.
Because I'm just thinking, like, I think it's really, I don't know, impressive for them to do stuff with a character that hasn't been around that long and to make her look smarter than the Joker when there's been this feud for decades, isn't it? Between the Batman and the Joker, and for them to go, she's only been around 2 years, but she is actually very smart. We know this.
She is.
But I think it was I think it was really cool and quite a bold move at the time, maybe, to give her that kind of thing under her belt. The fact that she nearly got Batman just by tweaking Joker's plan a tiny bit, just by hanging him upside down so we could see the smiles of the piranhas. But yeah, I think it was great, and I feel like that is also something that boosted Harley Quinn into her own series and stuff like that. The fact that she is so smart and can one up Joker on his own plans.
Yeah, and she's so underestimated all the time, which obviously helps, because she just has to shed a tear and the Batman goes running, doesn't he? He's like, "Oh, I'll help you," and she's like, "Gotcha," stab in the neck.
Is there? I mean, Shane, you'll know. Like, is there a love interest between Batman and Harley Quinn at any point, other than the odd kind of hint towards it? Is there an actual love there at any stage?
There's no love. I mean, they do flirt quite a lot. She's got a thing for Bruce Wayne, actually. She quite likes Bruce. She doesn't know
why. Is it? Is he's a billionaire? Maybe.
Well, there's probably that, but he's also very handsome.
He is, yeah.
But Harley sleeps with Nightwing in the animated movies.
Wow.
I just remembered as well, actually, at one point in this book, when she was walking through the Arkham Asylum, at the start, as she's Dr. Harleen Quinzel, she stops and refers to, I can't remember how she words it, but that's poison ivy's in the cell of a plant. That was a really cool hint. It's like early. It's whenever she's walking through the doors with with her little helper. There's a girl in one of the cells has a plant, and I'm assuming it's poison ivy, because Harley Quinn and poison ivy have a love interest as well.
Yes, yeah, there she is up in the corner there. Yeah.
But they made a point to kind of, I think, to highlight that. So they could, and the word on the speech bubble kind of like correlates with it too, like talking about love and having things with inmates and so on. I got there too, so I thought it was cool.
Yeah, because Harley and Ivy, they're best of friends. There's a great Batman Adventures. It's called Love on the Lam with Ivy and Harley, and that's a really good 3-part series.
They're also a thing, aren't they? Like they're
No.
They have been.
Not the real Harley and Ivy.
Okay. But they have been. But this is the thing.
They fool around, but then they're not in a relationship.
But I can remember whenever we read Deceased, and Harley was going to kill the Joker, and it was Poison Ivy was kind of giving her the encouragement to go ahead and tell him what you think and this and that. So Poison Ivy is there, like, to help her through that kind of stuff. And
yeah, their friendship's fantastic. If you carry on reading any of Harley's solo series, if you read that, or if you read Gotham City Sirens, their friendship is fantastic. Even in the Batman Adventures, there's an episode called Girls' Night Out where they get stopped by Batgirl and Supergirl, which is quite fun. They hypnotize Bruce Wayne to get him to spend all his money on them. They go shopping and everything. It's a fun one.
Nice.
But yes, we've been rambling on. I could talk about Harley forever. You know me.
We know.
I think we should probably get to the scores and the final thoughts. So in the chat, if you have read this, which I think a lot of you have, if not all of you, drop your scores and we will add them to ours to find out where this will be on the leaderboard. Hopefully quite high up, because mine have been middle of the ground recently, haven't they?
Yes.
My picks haven't been getting anywhere. Well, I should have won with my Kingdom Come, but we won't talk about that again, will we?
Guys.
Yes, drop your score in the chat and we will take a note. Phil, final thoughts and scores?
Start with Scott, because I'm a bit worried about my score. Start with Scott.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Scott, final thoughts and scores.
So, yeah, very fun book. I think the fact that it looks so fun, but then, has a bit of fun, but then has this dark kind of thing beneath it, definitely makes it a better read for me. But the whole nostalgia thing, and the fact that I have none, is, I think, sobering. I'm not sure. But yeah, like I'm not holding it in as high regard as a lot of other people are. But I'm gonna be professional about this, and even though I didn't enjoy this as much as I feel like I should have, or I feel like I needed to watch the show to be able to enjoy this on the same level as you guys. But because of that, I'm still gonna recognize how good this is. I'm not, I'm not gonna be like, I didn't enjoy this because I didn't watch the show, so I'm gonna give it a low score. I'm not gonna give it a low score. Yeah, I loved Harley. It was definitely a Harley Quinn story. She was great, and the little sprinkling of Batman and Joker here and there was great as well. I'm not going to say much else because I've said it all already during the show. But I am going to give this 7.5.
7.5. Okay.
Ooh.
Phil, do you want to go next, or
No, I'll go. I just wanted Scott to go first. So I knew where the bar was, so I don't get like shot for saying the wrong thing. I love the Batman animated series. There's no question. It's my gateway into Batman, my gateway into comics, and I do have that nostalgia that Scott refers to that he doesn't have. I have that. So when I read this book, I loved it. I just thought it was really good, really enjoyable. I like the art style, obviously, but I do have problems, and some scenes just look different compared to the animated series as a whole. And that's maybe to do with the fact that this is on print paper, like you're getting more still images, so maybe it suffers that way. Story, again, very short, but it was excellent. You can't fault it for being short. It was short. But again, the fact that Harley Quinn had the best of Batman, and he had to play in her heartstrings and her kind of relationship with the Joker to get free, and knowing rightly what was going to happen. Yeah, it's very enjoyable. Yes, it touches on some things are a bit grim, but again, you kind of have to read it. This is written in 1993. It's slightly different, and for young people reading it today, might be a bit more perturbed by it. Is that the right word?
Oh, good.
But no, I really enjoyed it. I can't fault it, and I like Harley Quinn more now than I ever done with all the books we've read of Harley Quinn in it. So that's obviously a plus. But I watched the episode today, and the art isn't as good as this book because it's the different art style. So this gets more points in the actual TV show for this episode. I'm going to give it an 8. An 8 out of 10. That's what I'm giving it.
Okay. Very good. We've got some scores coming in. I'll do mine, and then we'll let the scores continue to come in, shall we?
Yeah, fine. I've got them all down. It's all good.
Yeah, because I think that... fantastic. Well, I love this. Not going to lie, I have all the printings. I have every print that comes out of this. I even have the colouring book. It's literally this. It's black and white, and you can colour it in yourself. I mean, this is my reading copy. I just have a reading copy.
Do you carry that
I
in
keep
your backpack
with me
as well?
Sometimes if I want to read it, because I think it's such a... You know how I feel about complete story. It's a complete story from start to finish, and it's such a quick read. You can sit there. It's my favorite thing: a cup of coffee and a comic book. That's my ideal, way to spend an hour. It's perfect. So I can sit there and I can read it, and I read it multiple times a year. I love it. Whenever I just want to read a Harley book, I read it. And I love it. I love the art style. I love the character. I love the dark undertones that can quite easily be missed. If you gave this to a kid, they would enjoy it because they wouldn't see what you as an adult sees. So it is for all ages. You might want to be with them a bit. There is a bit of blood in this that isn't in the episode. But everything could be overlooked by a child, so they could still enjoy it. I absolutely love this book. I have no faults at all with it. I will read it again and again and again. It is a 10 out of 10 for me. This is up there with my 10s. I can't fault this book.
All right.
I'm just kind of thinking about this now. Like my 5-year-old can't be like, "Did I read this comic book? What does Harley Davidson vroom vroom? What does that mean, Daddy?" I have to explain that.
Well, you just say Joker's got a Harley Davidson outside, and she's asking if he wants to go for a ride.
Birds and the bees.
The original line was probably, "Don't you want to ride your Harley?" It was wasn't it? It was probably
Yeah.
something like that. They had to tone down a bit for the comic. So, how many scores did we get, Scott?
Right, so we've got 8 scores all in all. We had a 10 and a 10 from Branded One Arch. I love these versions of Joker and Harley. It also helps it's from my childhood, plus it's Batman related. So tick, 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 tick. John gives it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed the book, loved the writing, loved the colours, loved the character of Harley, and the exploration of the very dark and twisted relationship with the Joker. Yeah, that's great. Kevin, you know my score. I'm assuming it's a 10. I've put it down as a 10. Cable's Lost Son, 8.5 for me. Would read on, great art and story. Lee, just a flat 8.5, nothing else. Pete Thornton, 7 out of 10 for me. It's a fun story, but not amazing. It was my first Harley story, and I liked it. Great. Adam does a lot with the short page count and nails the balance between cartoony fun and dark adult undercurrent. Stellar artwork, great to reread, 9 out of 10. We do have one more as well at the end. Blue Sonic, this is a true classic. The art and the writing is amazing and brings back the feeling of watching the show in the 90s. Gonna give it an 8.5. And then we've got Mark Oldroyd jumping in. Such a fun book, great art, great story, what's not to like. 9.5 from me.
Nice.
Awesome scores from the
Oh,
chat.
This could be close. This could be a tough.
So, the results are in. Let's just get rid of this. So with all of those scores from the audience, that gives you guys an average of 8.9.
Whoa.
Adding that onto Phil's 8, my 7.5, and Shane's 10, this book comes in at 8.6.
Not
Let's
bad.
go ahead and
That's
see.
got to be one of the highest viewer scores, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
definitely.
So yeah, let's go ahead and see where this comes on the leaderboard. There we go. So it's now third place. Has pushed the Kill Lock out from third spot, and there we go, just underneath Old Man Logan as well.
Nice.
Let's take a look at the rest of the leaderboard as well, just so you guys can see.
Yep.
And there we go.
I mean, obviously we've all scored it, but like Old Man Logan, we all really enjoyed that. But like this and Old Man, like this is probably slightly better as a story, maybe. I don't know. She obviously thinks so. She scored a 10.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you scored it higher than Kingdom Come, so it must be good.
am I ever on this Kingdom Come
No,
thing? Right?
no, you're not. No.
And this is why I was worried about scoring like this any lower than an 8, because I had 8 written down at the start. It's like, should I give this an 8? And then I'm stuck with my guns, because that's what Scott does. He sticks with his guns, I stick with my guns. 8 out of 10, that's us.
I actually raised my score today. Yeah,
Oh,
Yay!
and you never do that.
Awesome.
I know. But yeah, there
Oh,
we go.
wow. Thank you very much. So yes, that was Mad Love from 1993 from DC Comics. Next week, we're continuing our Batman wave, are we not? With
Yes, we are.
whose pick is it next week? And what are we reading
me.
next week, Scott?
Play the VT.
Ooh.
There we go. So that's my pick there for anyone on the podcast. We are going to be looking at Batman Year 1 next week as part of our Batman wave.
From
It could be Batman number 1 next
1988.
week. Yeah. 87?
88, 87, one of them.
BT said 88. We will get the correct year.
Yeah.
Get the correct year for you.
This is going to be renamed Batman number 1, I think, because I just think it's top spot material right there.
Wow. I'm looking forward to it. Adam saying he's looking forward to next week. He just got the Absolute
Really?
Edition with the 2 different colorings. Can't wait.
Looking forward to
debate.
reading that then.
I think Shane's lagging a little
I think
bit.
I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll carry on here. Phil, have you got anything coming up on your show during the next week? On your channel, sorry.
Yeah, on Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. on my channel, I'm gonna have a hangout or something. Just do something for myself.
Nice.
With my comic book friends. Don't know what I'll be yet. Just if you're not doing nothing Saturday night, come see me.
Oh wait, Jesus! I totally forgot what was happening on Saturday night.
What? Scott, do you have anything coming up?
Oh, yes, I do. It's our monthly episode of Comic Airwaves. It is episode 11, and it is going to be titled Scott's Forfeit. What is it going to be all about? What are we going to do? I have no idea. It's all Phil and Liam's concoction, so I'm anxiously looking forward to this, but it's going to be really fun. We've got Ready, Steady, Book again. We've got another game coming up at the end of the show, and we've got all the usual good bits in between as well, so do go ahead and come on over. It's Saturday at 8:30 p.m. In the GMTs, so do come on over. It's going to be a hell of a laugh, and we'll see you soon.
Awesome.
Shane, you're back now.
Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that. Internet issues. But yes, Sunday or Monday, depending on when I can get it edited, the next Dawn of Comics quiz night will be up. So keep an eye on my Instagram for that, and I will let you know exactly when it's up. But yes, so that's everything. There's only one more thing to do before we leave, and that is to get your waves out.
Bye, puddings.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. See you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Love you.